Gerry Adams, why do you think it has been such a resounding yes vote? Why do you think the Irish people voted the way they did today?
Well, I think that people are very sound and given the chance when conservative elites kept a lid on all of these issues, then people were suppressed. But they seized the moment, and Panti and other people who have made a stand, and all of the people who stood up. It was very moving to be at community meetings, to be at activist meetings, people standing up and telling their story. So ta Ciarta ag Dini Iraqanish and Sin Untach Sin Gohali. A wonderful day for Ireland. We need to get this into the north now. We need to have it right across the entire island.
As they say. But in terms of Mary McAleese, do you think she played an important role, Gerry?
I have found that at Pride and Broad events that I have gone to, that most of the people I met were grannies, mothers, aunts, fathers, brothers, sisters, who have loved ones who happen to be gay or lesbian and from that community, and they made the difference.
The individual stories were critical because everybody can relate to an individual story. The mums and dads talking about their children, what it was like, the young people talking about their experience in this country. Ursula Halligan, Tom Curran, Mary Justin McAleese, all of these individuals, because everybody understands an individual story and the impact that the situation was having on their lives. So they were very powerful stories.
The personal. Go on, Panti.
I sort of feel that sometimes there was some suggestion during the campaign that this was a top-down initiative, that it was sort of a government elite that was sort of forcing this question on the people, and the people didn't really want it. But first of all, I think the size of the turnout just shows you that people actually did want this referendum. But also, this isn't a campaign that's just been going on for the last 3 or 4 months. This has been a 40-year campaign, and it is the epitome of a grassroots campaign. It started with a tiny number of incredibly brave men and women who stood up and said, actually, I have nothing to be ashamed of. And over 40 years, they, gathered more support little by little and made small achievements. And, it took 40 years, but we finally got to the point where actually the country is on board with what those few tiny, number of men and women, decided 40 years ago.
It's also a brilliant campaign to be part of, because it was enthusiastic, it was happy, there was idealism, it was positive, and that met a response and an echo on the doorsteps and on the streets. And I'm mindful of a young man who was beaten to death in Fairview in 1982. That was the first time that we were ever engaged in standing up for, at that time it was called gay rights. So there have been people who give an awful lot, who over that 40 years, as Panti has said, who made a stand. It was the only place to be, but the people have told them that they're welcome, that this is their Ireland, that it's good to be gay, and it's good to be Irish today.
And it really was the people, because when you're out on the canvas, it wasn't just, you fired up, young LGBT activists. There was headscarfed grannies and shaven-headed students and straight men and grannies and parents and brothers and sisters and friends. It really was a sort of inspiring campaign.
It was. There was a great atmosphere in the polling stations yesterday. People behind the desks in the polling stations were saying this was amazing to see all the young people coming in. It was a very happy atmosphere, and it felt like we'd had a great conversation as a country, and we were having a great vote with a high turnout for a referendum and across all the age groups.
And Minister, I said it to Jim Walsh earlier, the Senator, who was advocating no, and he very graciously came here today. But he was saying people are still a bit worried about some of the children's issues. So you can legislate now, hopefully, for things like surrogacy and issues that maybe people worried about, perhaps wrongly, but they did worry about, and they associated them with this vote.
Yes, I think they wrongly associated it with this vote, but there is legislative work to be done in the whole area of assisted human reproduction, and that requires a good consultation, good discussion, because these are complex issues.
Also, people spoke about, Gerry, the number of young people who voted. And in a sense, when you look at even the percentage of people who came out with the last few referendums we had in this country, it was minuscule compared to today. It really got a whole new group of young people interested and mobilised.
And people who came home. People who travelled, so these are big statements, and it's probably the first engagement by many young people and older people with activism. And this campaign shows that activism works, that you can make change, and that politics can work if it empowers people.
I remember, Panti, interviewing you a while back after a Noble call, and you were talking to me about when you grew up at first. It was almost a lonely place to be a young gay man in Ireland.
I think that today's vote isn't actually for people, 46-year-old aging drag queens like me. What this vote is about, like all of the young faces out there. I mean, look at that crowd. The average age is probably 20 or something. But can you imagine being a 15-year-old gay boy in Ballina, County Mayo, or a 14-year-old lesbian in Mullingar or whatever now, seeing this today on the television, and then, in the next few years, their younger brothers and sisters will be going to weddings of their cousins and the weddings of their, gay uncle and all of that, and it'll become a normal, ordinary part of life, and that is what changes hearts and minds. That's what stops people.
Doing away with the secrecy as well. I think it's quite a burden lifted off the shoulders of young people that they don't feel they have to hide. And the young people in the polling station were saying that to me yesterday. We've got lots of gay friends. What's this about?
I agree with the Minister. The number of young people, particularly, who may have a crisis around their sexual orientation, their identity, the people give them a huge hug today. And that's what that's about.
So what do you think, Panti? Would you like to get married in Ireland?
Are you asking, Miriam? Because I believe you're already taken. Sure, why not? If I can find the right fella.
But look, final word to you, Minister. It was a cross-political movement in a sense. Were you at all worried that you would not get the outcome you have got today at any stage?
Well, look, referendums, it's the will of the people. You have to wait until you see the will of the people. I think there was very good campaigns run by everyone. Yes, equality, put a huge effort in. And as we've been saying, it was about everybody. It was about having the conversation and putting it to the people. And that to be the first country in the world to have a referendum like this, it really says something about the Irish people at the end of the day.
I'm incredibly proud of Ireland to be the first country in the world to do it by popular vote.
Yes.
I mean, that telegraphs an incredible message to the world, not only about Ireland, but about equality in general.
And I always thought that we were going to get a yes vote, but it's been so resounding. It's been rural, it's been urban, it's been elderly people, it's been young people. It's right across the entire state.
Well, listen, thank you all three very much. Just to say, when you walked in here today, Panti, you were mobbed by the crowd, so be careful going back down. Thank you all very much. Back to you.